Welcome back to Blake's Craft Beer Podcast. My name is Blake Longfellow. I'm back in Hamilton, in Ohio. I'm always excited for a podcast that has beer involved, I guess. But I'm more excited with the guy I'm having on. He's been on several times. He was on the 50th and I think maybe 10th. Don't correct me if that might be wrong. But anyways, I'm happy to have Kelly Montgomery back with Third Eye Brewing. How are you doing, sir?
Fantastic. Thanks for having me again, Blake. It's always great to catch up and talk with you.
No, you're always welcome on the show. I mean, I always have fun talking with you between your beers, your brewery. It's always been we were talking off air. You're coming on 5 years. I mean, I remember coming in here, not here, but in Sharonville when it was just a little, still during COVID and stuff like that. But I could tell right away the beers was going to be good here. Right away.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride. It's hard to imagine we're coming up on 5 years. It seems like just yesterday we were brewing our first batch in Sharonville, and now it's quite a different thing than what we originally started. It's kind of crazy, all the different changes and just growth and all the things we've done in those first 5 years. So it's been a wild ride.
Mm-hmm. Could you imagine some of the stuff you went through when you started planning this and some of the different year issues, or you always knew there was going to be something coming up? You just have to navigate.
I think by the time, this will probably be my third brewery that I've opened from the ground up here in Hamilton. So I think by this time I just kind of knew there was going to be all those things you don't think of that pop up, all those delays, all the construction surprises. I think it was just after the first couple breweries I did, just something you know is going to happen eventually. So
is there
much better prepared, I guess, for the third time around.
Mm-hmm. Is there ever something that you, like when you come on this one, was there something that you didn't expect to come up that did, or did you have a feeling on stuff by then?
Yeah, I think everything went pretty much as we thought. I mean, we knew it was going to, take forever. It always does. It's always going to be longer than you think. It's always going to be more expensive than you think. I don't really think there was too many, surprises. I think we were just kind of expecting some things, and those things, delays happen and cost overruns happen, all the usual stuff. So
it probably feels good when you finally get the place open. It's like, okay, now we can settle in, or does it take some time before you can really settle in after opening?
It's great when you're opening up a new location and you've got all this money coming out to contractors and you're buying all this new equipment. So when you finally get the doors open, it's always great to have some money coming in instead of going out. So that's always good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know where we're at. We had a teeny pause here. So we're drinking Meanwhile Sharonville, which if you guys remember from the 50th episode, we released it that day, and still tastes amazing. I agree with you. I think the berry flavor's out a little more than I remember it.
Yeah, I think the berries come out a little bit more since first release. It's still tasting pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Really like it when it warms up.
So I noticed you also did it for many others. How did you come up with that idea of asking different groups, trying to create a beer with them?
I didn't actually ask any groups. Zach, I ran into Zach and might have been Elijah at some point or another, and they had talked about it, and we decided to do it. And it was kind of the same kind of thing with CCBC.
Mm-hmm.
I think I just ran into Mike Havern somewhere, and we decided to do it.
Which that was good too, by the way.
Yeah,
the
I was real happy with both of them.
Barrel aged double bock. That's pretty good.
Yeah, we're doing so for our 5-year anniversary. We're going to release Anniversary Blend. It's going to be a barrel aged beer, and it's kind of got some aspects of both the Meanwhile and Sharonville, and CCBC beer as well.
Okay.
And then probably I've been toasting coconut the last couple of days, so I'll probably have some coconut in there as well.
That sounds good to me.
But it's kind of a blend of both those beers, or different elements of both those beers with some coconut.
When you blend like that, what flavors are you planning on taking out of each beer to?
Yeah, so I believe it was the CCBC had the cinnamon, so we want the cinnamon aspect from that beer. You guys had kind of that raspberry blueberry.
Mm-hmm.
Both beers had the vanilla, and then they kind of a chocolate aspect to them. But I think the coconut's going to bring it all together. So that's kind of the new element. It'll be both those beers blended together, and then with some coconut added.
So when you started, like way back when you started putting certain ingredients together, did you have a vision of what it should taste like, or is it more like little trial and error, saying, "Hey, okay, this did this," or how do you?
I think in the beginning there was a lot of trial and error. This stage we've worked with a lot of these flavors before, so we have a pretty good idea of what we're expecting. And if it's not something, we get a result that we're not expecting, we can always blend, we can always dump it, we can always, there's always different things you can do. Sometimes the result you get might not be what you intended, but sometimes it's a really good result, just in a different way.
Is there a certain beer you guys made at Third Eye that kind of makes it that realm?
Let me think about that. The answer is yes, but I think the pretzel beer was one that just, it was just something we were planning on brewing once. Didn't really know how that was going to turn out. Just throwing a bunch of pretzels and kind of changing our Kolsch recipe and adding a lot of rye and some salt. And I think that was just a weird experiment that turned out well. It's probably our second best seller now. So that was kind of
because you have that about all year round now, don't you?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's definitely year round now.
And you took that pretzel beer and made a festival out of it.
Yeah,
so talk about how that got started and some of the, because there was a lot of good varieties and variants you made out of it.
Yeah, that was one. I never thought I'd make a pretzel beer. That always seemed a little bit outside the box. But when I got together with the sales team and we started brainstorming ideas for what kind of beers we wanted to have at Pretzel Fest, and they were talking about mustard pretzel and chocolate pretzel and churro pretzel and just all these different pretzels. Great ideas, but at the end of the day, somebody's got to figure out how to actually turn those flavors into beer. So, so that was definitely a challenge. Fun process, just trying to work through all those challenges. And I think Pretzel Fest ended up being one of our, it was a great event, a lot of fun. It's probably one of our most well-attended events we've done here, other than like our Oktoberfest or Bachfest events. We had tons of games. We had pretzel eating contests. We had crazy variants. Partnered up with Cervades. So it was a great event, great day.
Is that something you think you guys will probably repeat?
Yeah, I think we'll keep building on it. Keep making it better and better every year. But yeah, I think we had a great, successful first year with it.
Where do you see it going in the future? Is there anything else you want to try, or just try to hone in on some of those variants?
I think it'd be fun to, we did a lot of pretzel games. We're just, you start thinking about pretzel tosses, and we're catching pretzels on top of your head with plungers and all kinds of weird stuff. But I think just coming up with some fun games, and I think the hardest part when you have a lot of people, just every year making sure that you can make sure everybody can get a beer when they want one, no lines, and just make sure our customer service is better and better every year. But
because on the food side, you also had different type of pretzels as well, which that was pretty neat on top of the beer as well.
yeah, we had a lot of different Cervati's pretzel kind of dishes. I believe we had like also a pizza dough that was made with some of Cervati's kind of pretzel pizza dough. Yeah, we had a ton of different, kind of pretzel themed food items too. So
when you're putting an event together like that, how do you try to figure out, okay, this is going to do well, or if it's not, or you just don't know until you post it and the day?
Yeah, some of these things you think are going to do really well, and they don't. And I think Chris, one of our sales guys, came up with the idea for Pretzel Fest. At first, I didn't think it was going to be the greatest idea. And it ended up being one of our biggest events we've ever done. So, sees what I know. But yeah, sometimes you just have to try things and see what happens.
Is there other events you have in your head you would like to try sometime down the road?
I've always wanted to do some sort of wrestling event, kind of WWF style, where you have some other breweries involved with the wrestling as well. You're wrestling but I always liked wrestling, so I'd always like to have some sort of event that brings wrestling into it.
That would be neat.
Yeah.
So, so the last time after, because we also hung out a little bit at the OCBA conference, what was your biggest takeaway from that event?
I think the biggest takeaway, we saw a lot more classes and seminars on, THC beverages. It seems like that's kind of a trend in the brewery world. We're starting to see more and more breweries doing THC beverages. But for the most part, it's the craft beer industry as a whole is down a little bit right now. A lot of the younger people that are just now turning 21 aren't drinking as much craft beer as the last generation. A lot more kind of seltzers and things. So,
which it seems like you guys have always been above. Like you've always stayed on top of it. So stuff that's going on.
Yeah, we have in the tap room. I think we've done a great job of having kind of different options for everybody, whether it's a non-alcoholic, a seltzer or beer, wine. I think it gets a little bit tougher, distribution. We don't have all the equipment we need for if we were to do seltzers or some of the different, canned cocktails, but I think we've done a great job as far as those things in the actual tap room.
So speaking of THC, is that something you guys have discussed, or are you still? Because I know Ohio is still a little shaky on what you're allowed to do, and
yeah, it's something we're definitely looking into. I think we want to see. There's 3 bills in House and Senate right now in Ohio, and I think we want to see where that goes before we, invest a lot of time, resources, money into something. Seems like every week they're kind of changing those bills around. So hopefully they get everything passed here soon. And
are these going to be good for the brewers, or is it going to be challenging?
Some of them are good. Some of them are bad. We definitely need some regulation with it. I mean, it's kind of the wild, wild west. There's no limit to how much THC that you can put into a beverage right now. So if somebody wanted to, they could put a 200 milligram seltzer or something crazy.
I mean, I've seen 20s, I've seen 5s. I mean, it's
and I've seen 50s.
Oh wow!
I think there's a Cycling Frog 50. So I think there are some laws that need to be put in place just so the industry as a whole can grow. You don't want anybody getting hurt or surprised.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there is some legislation needed around maybe some limits and just better kind of labeling There's not a lot of labeling laws as far as, I'd like to see like a plus 21 or something on it. There's just not a lot of rules right now.
Because if you go to a store, and some stores do a good job separating, but there's others that's right next to the beer, and it's hard to tell the difference of what is what.
It is. When they're right next to each other, they kind of look like beers or seltzers. So it can be confusing for the consumer. So I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit more regulation. I think it'd be a better thing for the industry as a whole.
Because some of the things in the industry I'm starting to like to see is I've heard, like the lagers are coming back stronger. German beers are starting to make their way.
Yeah.
And there's rumors like West Coast IPAs are starting to come back.
Right. Yeah, I think we have 9 lagers on right now. So, lagers have come back in a huge way, which is great. I know us brewers, we love them. We enjoy drinking them. I think one of the ones I brought today, or one on our flight here, is one of our new West Coast lagers. But
you want to start with that one?
Sure.
So talk to me about what a West Coast Pilsner is. And
Sure. So this one's called Woogity Woogity, and it's a West Coast Pilsner. And it's exactly kind of what it sounds. You have that Pilsner aspect, which is super easy drinking, just crushable light. And then you have that West Coast aspect where you do get some hop aroma. You get a little hop bitterness. And but it's a great, easy drinking summer beer.
Oh, yeah.
Low ABV, so you can have more than one. It's got that Pilsner body, but you also get some of that hop flavor. So it's a lot of fun.
I'd say I like all beer, but with the lagers and this style coming back, it's nice to see some easier drinking that. And then as a business, and it might be easier to sell someone if you're having like a lot of high ABVs on your tab, then someone will probably have one, maybe 2, hopefully a day, have someone else helping them drive home. But when you have a lager,
right,
the more you might be able to get them to have that third beer.
Yeah, I think it's a great trend. I think it's a trend that's here to stay, and I'm all for it. They're fun to make. I love classic style lagers, and something I've been wanting to make for a long time. I think tank time and other restraints. It's nice being here in Hamilton where we have a bunch of extra tanks, kind of specifically so that we can do a lot of different lager projects.
Because I heard that you have a amber lager in one of the tanks almost getting ready to come out.
Yeah, we just canned up a amber lager, Liquid Harmony's the name of it. We canned that up yesterday, so that'll be coming out soon. We have a New Zealand lager coming out, and it's just basically that similar vibe where you have the light Pilsner base, but you have a ton of kind of those juicy New Zealand hops.
So where are people with lagers? Are they still looking for that American lager, or people are more willing to try different lagers?
I think right now, I think people are willing to try a lot of different lagers. I think the lagers with hops get a bad rep. I think we'd probably do better with just your traditional Czech lager, your amber lager, just Dunkels, just things of that nature, classic German styles. That once you start putting hops in, it's I don't know. Some people really like them and some don't. So that's a little bit more. I don't know. People like them or hate them, kind of thing.
Because the other night I was watching Food That Built America, and one of the topics was when like Anheuser came in and they were talking about when Budweiser started coming out, and then they were talking about how people wanted a sweet lager,
right?
And because they didn't really like the German lager, you still see people liking that sweet lagerness, or
I think especially here in the Midwest. I think overall, compared to out west, we have kind of a sweet tooth here in the Midwest. I think everything that's brewed kind of around Ohio and around these areas is a little bit sweeter than some other parts of the country. You have that Midwest IPA, which is kind of a sweeter version. So I think the part of the country that we're in is definitely, leaning towards a more sweet beer. So
It was just interesting, back in the 1800s, learning on how they were doing it.
Yeah.
And could you imagine starting a brewery in 1800s with
no. When I go to, I've done some of those lagering tours they have in Cincinnati, and just walking through there and trying to imagine how they brewed beer back then and how they used gravity, and just I can't even imagine. I'd love to see it when they were really humming. I think it'd be amazing to watch, but I can't imagine doing it the way that they did it back then.
Because luckily, I don't know how up to thing they do at the Carillon Park in Dayton, but they do some stuff similar to that, which I always find neat that they're trying to do it that way.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. Trying to, do some of the things in the old ways. I think it's great that they're doing that.
So, you just had the World Beer Cup as well, which obviously you won an air medal. Congratulations on that.
Yeah, thank you. I've been wanting to win a medal with a Scotch ale. I've been probably trying to win something at World Beer Cup or Great American Beer Fest with the Scottish style. Probably the last 8 years I've been trying that. This is the first year I've ever been a part of a brewery that's won something for that style of beer, and one of the really big competitions. So that was really exciting and fun. And it came down. At these competitions, you'll have several beers entered, and you get down to that last entry. So it was basically, ninth inning, 2 outs. This was our last category, our last entry. They'd already called the bronze and silver, so it was either gold or nothing, and we ended up getting the gold. So that was a lot of fun. I was glad we had our whole team there, so we all got to be a part of it, and that was a lot of fun. So
how neat was it also seeing all these different, obviously you've probably been to other, but them all being in Indianapolis? How cool was that, to being so close to home?
Yeah, I think that was great. Just short rides. Sometimes we're you plane ticket all over the place. It was just really nice having it in our backyard. It was nice having people come in from all parts of the country and kind of getting to see what kind of beers we do in this general area. So yeah, that was great. I'm just glad I was here.
Were you able to maybe pick up some collaborations in the future with that event, or?
We did a collab with 4-Day Ray, who's out of Indianapolis. And we released that beer kind of around the time of the conference. And then we just it was also just great. We just had gotten done doing a collab with the River North guys out in Denver, who, congrats to them. They just won 3 medals at the last competition, but it's always fun once you do a collab, especially if they're out of state, far away, and then you get to see all these people you've done collabs with in years past kind of all together at these big conferences or big awards shows. So that's always fun. It was great seeing those guys and some other people that we've done collabs with over the years.
Is there any collabs that sticks out in your head, and the ones you really, or is there any out there that you still would love to do with?
I think my favorite collab's always whichever one we're doing at that particular moment in time. But for me, it's always just about the friendships made and just the camaraderie. And I think it's great. Each brewery, it seems like I always learn something every time I do a collab, and hopefully the other breweries do as well. Yeah.
Because you did Fatheads a couple years ago, correct?
Yeah, we did a Fatheads a couple years ago, and at some point, I think they're going to come here and brew. We just haven't synced up our schedules, but at some point we'll have them come out here and we'll kind of do the second half of that. Yeah, that's probably the biggest name brewery that we've done, I guess, in Ohio.
Well,
Probably
you did Samuel
ever
Adams
done.
too, but I know it's the taproom, but it's still cool to do anything with Samuel Adams.
Yeah, doing something with Chris over at Samuel Adams, that's always fun. Absolutely love
I
that.
actually got to try that. That was a good beer too.
Yeah, no, I love that little brew house they have over there, and Chris is awesome and makes some terrific beer. And yeah, the Sam Adams collab is, I think, the second or third time I've done something with Chris. That's always great.
Can you ever imagine doing one with Jim Cook?
No, that'd be great though. That'd be great.
Oh yeah. I'm glad we still have him around. He's a legend.
Yeah, he definitely is.
Then also you did you just did another one with Jungle Gyms. Talk about that relationship.
Yeah, we've been doing kind of a IPA series. It's kind of been rotating back. They're usually doubles. I think we initially, might forget the order here, but we did like a double hazy, then a double West Coast. And we usually throw a ton of hops at it. A lot of fun hops. So we always try to make it fun and, something delicious too. But yeah, those beers have gone over well.
Do you ever go there getting like ingredients for beers?
Yeah, I'm over there all the time. There's always something we need, especially for one-off beers. For, when I was making all the pretzel beers, going over there and getting, mustard powder and mustard salt. And yeah, I'm over there all the time.
I was about to ask you about the mustard part. Do you like, I didn't know if you use jars of mustard or do you normally use the powder?
Yeah, we used mustard seed, mustard powder. There's kind of like a horseradish aspect to mustard. We used kind of like a wasabi paste and celery seed. So it was kind of made just like if you were going to make mustard at home. It was kind of more like a deli style mustard.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also kind of reduced the pH to make it more acidic to kind of give you that vinegar effect that mustard has.
Was that your first time ever using mustard?
Yeah, I never even thought about using mustard before. So that was, that took multiple takes to get that one right. We dumped a lot of experimental kegs before we finally figured out that. So,
is there any other ingredients out there you probably have said you don't want to use, but you probably have?
Oh yeah, there's plenty of those.
But that's what I like about you guys. You guys aren't afraid to try something.
Yeah, it's at this point we get a lot of good or bad ideas from our sales team. But for me, I think in the brewing team, it's we might not necessarily want to make something that's something crazy ingredient, but we definitely like the challenge of trying to pull it off. I think that part's always fun. And I think we do a good job of trying to pulling off these kind of crazier beers.
What's the craziest idea they ever given you?
Man, I think that mustard pretzel beer was got to be up there. That,
Because have you experimented with pickles too, or?
no, Urban Artifact
I
did
know.
such a great job with their pickle beer that I feel like they nailed it, and I feel like there's nothing to be improved upon. I think they
No.
made the perfect pickle beer.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
I don't think they ever dreamed on having that as a staple, but it is now.
great. Yeah, they did a great job.
Is there a certain beer I know we talked about the pretzel beer being a staple now, but was there any others that kind of caught you off guard and thinking, oh, this will never be a...
I was really kind of surprised. Jelly Brain. I mean, Jelly Brain's a great beer for what it is, but milkshake IPAs aren't that popular like they once were, and we still sell a ton of it. People still come in specifically for that beer. If we don't have it on tap, people get upset. So that was our very first batch we ever made at Third Eye, and that's one that we continue to make. I figured it'd be just more of a once a year type beer, but
I think what makes Jelly Brain apart was because sometimes you get milkshake IPA, I don't know what it is, but yours you just get all of that pineapple and fruit flavor on it. You don't even think it's a milkshake IPA. I think that's what stands apart.
Yeah, we
versus some others out there.
Yeah, we use like 4 drums of pineapple, so it's all these garbage cans you see, those were all pineapple at one point.
I can imagine it's probably a messy day when you're...
Yeah, when we put 4 of those in, it's a challenge.
Because I've talked about this a couple times, but if you could ever bring back the Holy Cannoli way and fashion, it was so good though.
I always forget about the Holy Cannoli beer. Maybe we need to bring that back. It's a good idea. We kind of forgot all about that beer.
But it was something, I mean... Yeah. And that was probably a cool collaboration to do that with.
That was fun. Yeah, I think at this point we've made like 400 different beers, and we always forget about, I forgot about the cannoli beer. There's probably some gems we probably need to take a look at, and
is that something
maybe, make again.
When you get to your 10 years, like, okay, we're going to bring back all of the hits.
Yeah, I think that would be fun. That'd be good.
Because you notice I worked when they did their 10, they brought back their rye IPA, which they don't bring back often, but it's cool to see some of the original OGs they started with. And
yeah, I think that'd be great.
I think that's the cool thing that some people don't realize when they're not in a craft industry. When you see an anniversary, it gets you excited because you guys are going to come out swinging with some really good. That you don't do it now, but it's just like anniversary just feels special. Like sometimes you can make a beer for anniversary beer, you'll never ever see it again. It was just for that event.
Yeah, exactly. Like our anniversary blend, that'll be one day only, and that'll be it. Whatever, we'll probably do a bunch of other one-offs, and it'll be one keg, and when it's gone, it's gone.
Mm-hmm. Well, somehow, meanwhile, Sharonville has survived. When I saw that, when he said it, I thought he was joking at first. I was like, oh, there's no way this thing's still alive.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still alive in my fridge at home. I haven't opened it yet, but
Yeah, we always we'll sometimes we'll tap a keg that we always hold back some of our beer. We don't always want it to run out, so we'll always, especially if it's barrel aged, we'll stash a few kegs away for special occasions, or sometimes we just tap them. You never know when you come in Third Eye and you might see some private stash barley wine, or see some Meanwhile, or CCBC, or something fun. Try to always have something kind of unexpected on the menu.
Because one of my favorite things about Meanwhile and Sharonville was the both times was the bottle share aspect, because I feel like bottle shares just isn't there like it once was.
Yeah, that's probably that was a great bottle share too for that event, and it was something I missed that it's just not happen as much as it used to. It's always great getting together with all the beer people, and just doesn't happen as much as it Used to,
now,
for sure.
because even that, I love being part of 513, but I feel like we always should be doing something, but it just seems like it's spur of the moment, or sometimes something gets set up late. And I understand people have kids, they have families.
Yeah.
I'm a single person, so it doesn't really matter to me. If you put a date out, I'll probably be there.
Right.
It won't matter to me. So,
yeah.
And luckily, I have parents that love to go to these things too. So,
yeah, I think for every bottle release that we do, generally we'll have some aspect of a bottle share. I think they're great. I think that's what kind of made craft beers special, were those kind of bottle shares. So we always do them. They're not as big as they once were, but I think they're still
even though there are some lines that like there used to be lines for some bottles around Cincinnati, but now people don't really do that anymore. Yeah. Luckily, you guys seem to always have a good stash, so it never seems like you need to, but you kind of miss that aspect as well.
Yeah. There's not big lines, back in the Listerman days, 2016 or something. You just don't really. Well, those days are kind of gone.
But I still feel like but the barrel aging, and especially in Cincinnati, is still there. It's has to be one of your bread and butters. When you barrel age something, put it out, at least in Cincinnati, it's probably going to do well.
Yeah. We don't have any issue. Generally, we'll sell out all the bottles we intended to sell out, over the weekend. We always hold back some just for whatever, but they still do well. Our barrel program's still growing every year, so we haven't downsized it. It's still actually growing. I think in the next couple of years, probably, we might even double our current barrel program. So it's still alive. It's alive and well in Cincinnati.
Yeah. Where do you want to go next with our?
Let's go to the Prismatic Muse.
All right. So tell me how this got.
So this beer came about. We always get everybody's asking us to brew a pale ale. So we did. We actually brewed 2 pale ales. We brewed hazy pale ale, and then we also brewed kind of a West Coast pale ale. And this is our hazy version. It's very juicy. It's low ABV. But it's got a ton of hop flavor, and it's very low ABV, and it's it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's just crazy. People are asking for a pale ale. So I mean, does that touch you a little bit? People are wanting a pale ale again, or have they always wanted them?
We get requests for them all the time, but they people want them, but when they don't actually buy them. We usually, both these, we kind of did a little bit smaller batches than we might. They've done fine, but they're not, we'll sell 5 times as much as with just a West Coast IPA or a New England IPA. We'll sell 5 times as much as we will a pale ale. But I like the smaller ABV. I think I like them a lot. So they're fun. I'm glad we have them on our menu right now.
No, and this is good. I mean, this is something that if someone was asking, I want to try an IPA, but they're not sure on what IPA to give them, it's not an IPA, but it's similar enough where it would be a good starter for them. Yeah.
And a lot of IPAs, our New England IPA is 7%, our West Coast around 6.5%, and this is just a lot smaller beer. So you get all that hop flavor, but it's got a lot less alcohol. So it's and so I think pale ales are. I don't know. I'd like to see them. Feel like they've made a little bit of a comeback, but I'd like to see them even make a little bit more of a comeback.
Because you another IPA you used to see a lot, but you don't see it much anymore. Is the session IPA.
Right.
Do you think that's something too? And that's something might be there, or
I think that, I think it falls kind of in that, pale ale form. The pale ale is going to be a little bit higher ABV, but we haven't had as much luck with the session version of the IPA world as we have pale ale. There's something about, it's weird. If it's a lager, people want a lower ABV, but if it's an IPA, they don't. It doesn't seem like people want the 4% IPA like they do a lager.
so
At
what?
least based on like taproom sales.
So what makes a difference between a pale ale and a session IPA?
The session IPA, I mean, that'll generally be 3.5%, 4%. Pale ales are generally around 5.5. So you're going to get a little bit higher ABV. There's not a whole lot of rules as far as, how much hops you're going to use in a session IPA or a pale ale. I mean, I think Three Floyds makes a pale ale that's got more hops than most breweries will use in their West Coast. So,
We're talking about zombie dust.
yeah, I think the rules are all over the place on pale ales but
I remember when that first came out, you couldn't get a hold of it if you tried.
yeah. I can remember searching it out, waiting in lines. You'd hear about it, you get there, it'd be all gone.
Now, like I got a couple bars in Troy, it seems like it just sits there and like it's gone. Like,
yeah.
But is there other beers you remember starting out that you couldn't get a hold of right away, or
I mean, it was a lot of fun back when I was still brewing in my garage and kitchen, and they'd have the what's the bells, the hop slam.
Oh yeah.
And I just remember how fun it was, not only to, go searching for hop slam, but also to try to recreate it, on the homebrew level. Hop slam was always one. Let's see.
I definitely feel like
the bourbon counties, when those were coming out. Yeah, anything from Three Floyds back then, if you could get your hands on it. And then, Firestone Walker, we never got it in Ohio, but remember how excited you go out of state and, go to Colorado to visit her for something and be able to, see Firestone Walker or Russian River or, all those fun beers.
Yeah, there's several different. I mean, in the past, I would maybe say 3 years, you've been blown away about some of the beers that have come to Ohio. But there's still some out there you wish, oh, come on, try us.
Yeah, it's amazing what all you can get in Ohio now. I mean, just from 5 years ago, Ohio's a great beer market, so a lot of other breweries out of state come into it, and we've got great beer from all over the country right now.
And when those beers come in, how much more pressure does it put on you to say, okay, I have these a little more competition now, like especially in in the stores? Does it make you feel like, okay, I got to do more, or
I think competition always makes you, be better. Competition always brings out the best. It always, I think competition's always good, no matter what industry you're in. I love competition. I think competition's fun. I think it forces you to be better.
Is that why you like doing competition so much? Because that forces you.
Competitions for me, I think they've been important to me because that's really how I got my start. I mean, I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for competitions. I was brewing in my kitchen and my garage, dreaming about opening a brewery, but I didn't really have the money. I didn't really know how to go about it. I'd never worked at a brewery. But I figured if I became really good at brewing and if I could win local homebrewing competitions, if I could win some national homebrew competitions, that maybe somebody would take notice and maybe I could figure out a way to get some investors and start a brewery. So for me, that's how I got my start as a brewer, was as a home brewer, brewing in the kitchen garage, entering local and national competitions, and then doing well in them helped, get my start. So competitions have always kind of held a place for me, as I wouldn't be here today without them. So
Is there certain beers that won medals that have made their way into the brewing that's being made today?
yeah, for sure. So Muzi over at Brink, that was one that won a gold medal at the Ohio State Fair. I had a homebrew club called the Delhi Mashers, and one of the new members of the club never brewed a batch of beer in his life. Just got the equipment. He was coming over for a brew out. Asked me to put together a homebrew recipe for a milk stout for him. And I literally wrote it out on a sheet of paper that day, which ended up being Muzi at Brink. But there were a lot of the English Mild, the Hold the Reins. That's one GABF from Brink. That was a homebrew recipe. All the Duncan clans. I mean, pretty much Brink's, a lot of their lineup was a lot of my original homebrew garage recipes. And that was always interesting coming to Third Eye Brewery in the same town. Just had to reinvent my entire self as far as recipes. All the recipes we did at Third Eye had to be different. Didn't have to be, but I wanted them to be. So
was that hard to leave behind? Some of the beers you made that, hey, okay, I'm leaving these behind, and the challenge of, okay, I got to not recreate yourself, but recreate some beers in different ways and forms.
For me, I enjoyed it. I think it was hard for like a week. And then I realized I was kind of getting tired of brewing. I was brewing those beers over and over. It was so great just to have a clean slate, get pen and paper together and just come up with completely new recipes. Back when I was homebrewing in the garage, I had a certain knowledge base. And I think by the time I had left Brink, I'd learned a lot. I'd learned a lot about a lot of different more ingredients, just being a pro brewer and just brewing every day as a pro brewer. So it was a lot of fun to just kind of leave that behind and start with a clean slate and kind of use all the things that I'd learned to, I don't know, I'd just do something different. So.
Well, because we talked about, was Jelly Brain the first beer you wrote on paper when you started here?
Jelly Brain was the first beer we brewed. Jelly Brain's a great one to brew first when you're on a new system, because there's so much pineapple, there's so much coconut, there's so much vanilla. If you don't want to brew like a really delicate Pilsner as your first beer, just because there's not a lot to hide any mistakes you may have made. Something like Jelly Brain, there's so much pineapple, vanilla, coconut. It's a great kind of first beer when you're, on a new system. So.
All right. Probably peanut butter should be next, or you want Scott?
Let's do the peanut butter.
Oh, you can smell the peanuts right off the.
Yeah, this is a beer. I thought we'd really only brew it once, and it's kind of become a once a year beer. It's got banana, it's got peanut butter. Every year though, it seems like the peanut butter always takes over. I think one year we put 4 drums of banana in, and it really didn't poke its head through. You get a tiny bit of banana, and you get a lot of peanut butter.
Yes. So how did you come up with this? And when you first thought of this idea?
I don't remember exactly where that idea came from, but it was, it's kind of based off of Elvis, and, he liked his banana and peanut butter, and peanut butter is something, the brewery, it usually gets people talking, and people like peanut butter beers. At the time, there hadn't been a whole lot of peanut butter and banana beers, so it was kind of unique and unusual. So, yeah, we did it once, and it was kind of a hit. So we do it once a year. We make it once a year, and every year I try to get a little bit more banana flavor, and every year I fail, and it's always tons of peanut butter and a tiny bit of banana.
How many bananas did you use this time?
It's unmeasurable. We just keep just drums and drums of banana. Well, this year we did lots of banana, and then we mixed in even some extract banana for, more aroma, but that peanut butter just covers up everything.
Is it just the peanut butter itself? I mean, what type of peanut butter do you normally use when you're brewing with peanut butter?
Man, we literally it seems like we're making peanut butter. Right behind you, there's that little tiny fermenter, and we'll take that and we will have peanut butter flour that we get from our supplier. And we're literally dumping bags of peanut butter flour, mixing it with hot water, and it looks like peanut butter. It's like literally peanut butter.
I wasn't sure if you're using like Jif jars.
No, we kind of use like peanut butter flour, and then we also use extract. It gives a little bit of aroma and flavor. We kind of blend peanut butter flour and then peanut butter extract together.
Because is peanut butter like one of those ingredients that you don't have to use much enough to, okay, I'm here?
Yeah, it seems like every time I use peanut butter, it's always tastes very peanut butter heavy. It really masks other flavors, unless it's like a vanilla or something. But
I tell
something
you what,
like subtle, like a banana, is like impossible to.
Because one of my favorite peanut butter beers you make is the chocolate peanut butter.
Oh yeah,
it tastes like a Reese cup. It is so good.
Yeah, that's a fun beer. Like peanut butter and chocolate and a stout. I mean, that's the perfect combination.
Mm-hmm. Have you barrel aged that yet?
We have not. That needs to happen.
Because I think that would be pretty good too.
That needs to happen. You're absolutely right about that.
When you do like your barrel aging, is there certain stuff that just doesn't work when you barrel age, or does mostly everything work?
The stouts are easy. Stouts just seem like a great canvas to do whatever you want with. I mean, you can put peanut butter, you can put chocolate, you can put fruit, vanilla, spices. Stouts are just a great starting point. I love stouts. I think I've spent more time brewing stouts, maybe more time barley wines, but I've spent a lot of time brewing stouts, and it just seems like the perfect canvas for beer. I mean, you can put anything in them.
Because I love all breweries when I say this comment here, but the ones that make really good stout like you guys do, and like Wandering Monsters, I'm actually a couple of weeks when this comes out, I'm going to go down to Fable Forest because they're about to do their anniversary launch. And there's others around here just makes really good stouts, and then when they put them in a barrel, it just makes it, I feel, so much better.
Yeah, something special about a barrel aged stout.
Is that because we're so close to Kentucky, or what is it?
It's weird. It used to be we could go, like, even New Riff. I'd be able to go to New Riff. They'd dump a barrel. I'd put it in the truck, drive it back to the brewery, or any of the distilleries in Kentucky. Just drive there, grab them. But now there's companies out west that buy all the barrels and they take them out west. So I can't really work directly with the distilleries like I used to. I used to be able to work directly with them. Now I almost have to call some company out west that kind of buys them all. So even though we're close,
where are other states in their barrel age? Obviously, I know like Goose Island uses a lot of barrels and stuff like that. But what are some others out there?
I mean, they're I think they're all out west because that's where all the barrels go. They all go from Kentucky. They load them up on a semi, and then they all go out to like Denver. Mm-hmm. All the barrels are sitting out west, and there's a lot more breweries out, California and Colorado, Oregon, Washington. So
just trust me, one day down the road, I'll probably fly out there sometime, but I want to go to Russian River to try some of theirs. And
yeah.
There's a lot of breweries out there that I just haven't made it to yet. But then, is there any region you haven't made it to yet that you would really like to try to go to sometime?
I haven't been. I think I've been pretty much everywhere except for some of the East Coast, the Vermont, the New Hampshires, the Rhode Island breweries. I've had a lot of beer from there, but I haven't been out there. So I would like to, at some point, make it out there. Like to get over to Germany. I'd like to get over to England. But soon.
Hey, sounds like a road trip to me. I'm down.
Excellent. Let's book it.
Because I feel like that's another thing that's missing in craft beer now is the travel aspect of it. Yeah. For me, I love going to, like, the first time I go to a new area, normally after hotels, I try to be somewhat an adult here. Right. Then okay, what are breweries out around where I'm at so I could go try them? Because I think that's one of the aspects of craft beer I love is, a lot of my vacation are planned around. Like in June when I go up north, we're going to Cleveland. What do you think half of my vacation will be?
Right.
Because there's just so much up in Cleveland I want to go explore. Because I have only been there a handful of times. And
yeah, no, I think that's fun. I think growing up, it was like a lot of family trips and vacations were always, craft beer was always involved, and going to the whatever brewery that you're vacationing at is always it's always fun. It's always fun exploring and just seeing what other breweries are doing and what other states are doing. And
what's some of your favorite evolutions from when you first got into craft beer, and then what's your favorite evolution to ever come out?
I think one of my favorite evolutions is, there was, for a lot of years, you couldn't do sour beers without contaminating your whole brewery. And then they came out with yeast that you could put in your equipment. It wouldn't contaminate it. So I think those lactic acid producing yeast that don't contaminate the brewery, I think that's been fantastic. It allows a lot of breweries to, brew sour beers without worry. In the 90s, and they started putting beer in barrels. How great was that? But for the most part, things really haven't changed a whole lot. I mean, we still make beer, in a lot of ways, like we've been doing for, many, many decades and decades and decades. A whole lot hasn't changed. I think we've gotten a lot of great yeast technology where you don't have to add as many hops as you used to. They got thiol technology where the yeast it almost is packed with hop flavor just from the yeast. Yeast technology's been huge. And I think even just 10 years ago, when I started, couldn't really find anything out online about, if you were just getting into brewing, you wanted to learn how to clean a keg, wash a tank, just stuff to do with going from home brewer to pro. There wasn't a whole lot of information out there. Now there's YouTube videos and there's tons of information out on just about everything. So I think that's great. All the different information is out there. So every generation of brewer would probably just get better and better.
Because when you open this up and Stowe Hatch Sharonville, did you have a thought of maybe putting a fooder over there, or is that just something completely you don't even want to mess with?
Oh, we want to mess with it. I mean, it's on my bucket list, so it will happen. It's just a matter of when. We have space. We'll probably do it in Hamilton. Probably do it in the basement. We have 8,000 square feet in the basement. We probably do it in the basement at some point. It'll happen.
Because I know you just have to be very careful when you bring this in, because of what I've heard some stories on, like Wolfridge I had it read several weeks ago, and they were talking about how because they test everything, because they have production fields, and somehow something got over there they didn't even think of, and they had this scrap stuff because they didn't realize it made its way over there. What makes it so hard?
So technically never brewed a sour beer at homebrew level. I have, but I've never wanted to take that risk. But I'm at the stage of my career where I'm willing to do it. I'll get a fooder someday. We'll probably do it in the basement. We'll take the necessary precautions. I'm willing to.
Because it kind of sounds like fun, doesn't it?
Sounds like a lot of fun. The long form sours don't sell like they used to, and I don't even care. They're just so much fun. They have a special place in my heart. So I think that'll happen maybe at our 10-year anniversary. Hopefully by then we'll had a few stuff come out of the fooder, but
because luckily we have one down the road, an Urban Artifact, that just kills everything.
Yeah,
and that's probably why they didn't go anywhere else in their region, like beer wise. Even though they've tried different versions of stuff. But.
Right.
All right, let's talk about the beer that won you your medal.
Yes, this one's called Higher Consciousness. And it's one I've probably brewed, between barley wines and Scottish ales. I've brewed those a lot, but in stouts. Those three styles I've just brewed a lot just because I like those styles. The Scottish beer, I've been making tweaks on this Higher Consciousness for 5 years now. And it finally, I hadn't actually entered it in a major competition in a few years. By that, US or JBF or World Beer Cup, I hadn't entered it. And I thought it was at a pretty good spot this year, so we entered it. It was actually 8 months old. This beer's, it only gets better with time. So 8 month was a really good spot for it. And it's got caramel. It's got a tiny bit of roast. It's about 8.6%. It's beautiful, beautiful color. It's like that dark, deep amber. But I love these styles of beer. I love them when they come out of a barrel. This base beer blended with the barley wine, that's what we won something at FOBAB with. So I think we're at a really good spot with the barley wine and then the Scotch ales right now. So I'm happy where that's at.
Mm-hmm. That's good. I never realized it was barrel aged.
Yeah, so what we're drinking is not, this is just like the base version, and then we do a barrel aged version. Yeah, I've got a couple sitting in barrels right now. Hopefully this winter we'll bring them out.
So, so what makes a Scottish ale a Scottish ale, basically?
Yeah, so back in Scotland when they were brewing beers, they had some crazy kind of taxes on hops. So you usually won't find a lot of hops in Scottish beers. They're usually really malt heavy. Just from their early history, they were brewing really malty style beers without hops. So there's usually very little hop presence, and they remind me a lot of kind of English styles too, where they're just really malty. They have some body to them. They must have a English yeast where they don't ferment completely out, so there's still some residual sugar in it. They're sweeter, maltier. They always have some caramel. A lot of them you get kind of a dried out like finish from just a tiny bit of roasted malt, but I don't know. I think it's the perfect beer style. Just that caramel, malty, just biscuit, a little bit of roast. I think the head on these styles of beer, their colors, just beautiful. A well-made Scottish beer, there's not much better on this planet if you find a well-made one. So
No,
that's what I've been trying to do.
Because I'll admit, I probably haven't had as many as I should, but this is really good though. So, what were some of the breweries you battled against in the World Cup for this?
It's a great question. So I only know the winners. They don't really publish a list of like all the losers. It's like bronze, silver, gold. I don't remember who did gold or silver. Or we did gold.
Yeah,
I remember that one. I don't remember who did bronze and silver.
Right.
I think that particular moment, I was about ready to go home with no medals, and the very last second, we got the gold. So I don't. That was the only thing I remember. But
so when you enter a beer into a competition, do you know the amount of breweries you're going up against, or you have no idea?
Yeah, you have no idea. Every year can be different based on trends. Some festivals are always in the fall, so you might have more fall type styles of beer in that one. You can get an idea based on previous years, but trends and things are always changing. But
I'm not saying any. I'm sure all categories are difficult, but is there one particular category that's kind of hard to?
I think the New England category year over year has always got the most entries. The lager categories are catching up now. Just like your regular Czech lager, just a lot of your basic Pilsners, your American. I mean, there's the entries for those are getting crazy too.
So when you judge New England, what are they wanting out of New England? Because New England is such a wide category on
there's so many entries. We usually don't enter IPAs into these categories. There's just so many entries, and judges' palates just get, it's so bitter that your palate gets wiped out. And it's just kind of always amazes me that when you see a brewery that's won multiple years in a row for an IPA, I'm always really, really proud of those breweries that can do that. I think that's an incredible feat. Just there's so many entries, and those judges, they all start tasting like the same thing after a while when your palate gets wrecked. So,
So, because we mentioned a little bit with with the West Coast coming back, do you envision it to be a little tamer West Coast compared to what the last
Yeah,
West Coast was? With let's see how bitter we can make this thing, or you think there's going to be an equal balance of?
yeah. No, I think the West Coast IPAs that are selling, I think they've dialed back the bitterness a lot. I can even see. I think we've even dialed it back a tiny bit. We were kind of in a good spot when we started, but I think even Truth has probably dialed it back some. I don't know for sure, but it seems like it.
Which a lot of people don't even realize Truth is a West Coast, but they still drink it.
Yeah. I mean, it's just overall, I feel like the ones that are selling really well in Cincinnati right now they're not super bitter. They're more approachable.
Because the stigma of craft beer is people that don't get it, because all you have is IPAs, which I feel like that should be dead by now, because there's so many different beers you're making now in craft beer.
Yeah, I think we have 20 different styles of beer on tap right now. Maybe 6 of them are IPAs, and you have another 14 that are, different. But IPAs, at the end of the day, it's still like in a tap room, 40% of your sales are usually IPAs. The other 40% are whatever your lightest beer is you have on tap. And then the other 20% is everything else on your board.
Mm-hmm. So we touched on it a little bit. So what should people expect in your 5-year? Is it going to be in both locations, 5 anniversaries?
We're still figuring out if we're going to do both locations, because we kind of have a separate anniversary for Hamilton. So I'm not sure if we're still deciding. I should have that figured out soon, but definitely be Sharonville. I think the star of the show will be the barrel age stout we're doing, 5 years. So we got 5 adjuncts. And then our whole brewing team, we're going to be, from now till the anniversary, we're going to be putting together fun, exciting one-off beers.
Do you have a date on it?
It's going to be that Saturday, I believe, a Father's Day weekend.
Okay.
I don't know if that's the 15th or, but it's that Father's Day weekend, that Saturday.
Because this will might not come, will probably come out the week before, but it'll be really close to it. So that's why I'm asking these questions to you. So, last question before I let you get out of here. What is craft beer to you? When someone asks you, what is craft beer? What is it?
Craft beer to me, I think my answer might be different than some other people's answer, but for me, craft beer for me has been a journey of, since the early 90s. I fell in love with it. My Uncle Jack really got me into it. His passion for craft beer kind of bled over. I remember hanging out with my dad, and back in the 90s, we were going to brew pubs and taking home growlers of beer. And for me, I come from an entrepreneurial family. My dad has a kind of a cheese coney place and barbecue place, and stepmom has a creamy whip dairy bar. And I've always grown up around being an entrepreneur. And from the 90s, I knew I wanted to do something in craft beer. I wanted to make beer. I wanted to be a part around beer. And I think the industry's, at least for the older guys, it's the friendliest. I think I know other people, I've heard some other younger brewers talk about competition. I just don't see it. I don't see it like that. I feel like it's a lot of camaraderie, and I don't know. It's the best industry you can be in. I've done a lot of terrible jobs leading up to beer, and there's no better industry on the face of the planet than beer. So
I lied. I have one more for you. So this is your 5 year. In 10 years, what do you want to see happen to Third Eye? Obviously, be open. I pray.
yeah, I would like. We have a wonderful big basement space in our Hamilton location. I would love to open up part of the basement to more of like a barrel aged beer experience. I'd like to build up the barrel age program where downstairs we have some really just barrel aged beer on tap, lots of them. And then some other, maybe we get that foeder and we've got some of those long form sours, but crazy nice glassware. Yeah, I'd like to see us do something more with the basement space that we have downstairs. The next 5 years that'd be something I'd be pushing for.
I hope it happens. Well, thank you again for your time. Thanks for always being willing to come on and talk with me. You always make me feel like I'm home when I'm here, so I appreciate you.
I appreciate it, Blake. Always a pleasure to be on your show.
All right. Thank you so much for listening to this episode, and check out other episodes you might not figure it out, and please come to the anniversary party on the 15th. All right.
Ish.